What is going on, guys? If you are watching this, it is November 26th, day of our Lord 2024. We are about a week away from the early signing period, guys. It is that time of year. It is a very stressful time of the year. It brings me back to the good old LSU Recruiting HQ days where we used to stress out in this time of the year. We're probably a little stressed still at the moment. I don't know. Maybe you have heard, maybe you haven't. Um, but LSU lost a quarterback in this cycle. Um, a pretty good one. And a lot of people are talking about it. It's been the talk of the town for the last week. I think LSU's win this weekend help kind of like steer some of the attention away from that. I think people are starting to kind of get over it and realize like this is recruiting, like this happens. Um, and that there was nothing really LSU could do. I think everybody kind of knows the backstory of it now. Knows that the kid probably wanted to go to LSU, but when you're 18 years old, there's a lot of influence out there and a lot of opportunity, to say the least, and it'd be hard for any of us to pass that kind of money up. And so that happened, right? And it put a big damper on LSU fans. It put a big damper on just the recruiting outlook for this cycle. Like everybody kind of like panicked and thought it was the end of the world. And I'm here to tell you it's not, because we're going to preview the early signing period, what LSU's class is looking like now, what it could look like at the end, and we're just going to kind of break things down in a way that simplifies it before National Signing Day. Give you an outlook on who I think is going to sign, who I think may not sign in the early period, and where I think LSU is really going to finish this whole thing out. Because you got to think, LSU's still sitting here today with the 6th ranked class in the country. Yes, yeah, they're doing terrible. It's awful being top 10 in the country in recruiting. Not only that, are they going to sign 3 to 4 5-stars at the moment? Could possibly be 5. That would be pretty good. A lot of teams would look at that and say, man, that's a really good recruiting class. But, with the whole Bryce Underwood situation, I understand why vibes are down. But you got to look at this thing, half full, right? Yes, it sucks. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not trying to be the guy out here who's saying Bryce Underwood's not good. He's going to go to Michigan and he's going to suck. Like, that kid's going to be good. All right? There's no doubt about it. He's going to be good wherever he plays. It's not going to look good when he's at Michigan. It's not going to look Heisman Trophy caliber good like it would have here. But he's going to be good, and he's going to go make a lot of money playing quarterback in the NFL, I'm sure, one day, barring injury. So what does LSU's class look like now? Well, like we said, it's the 6th ranked class in the country, 5th in the SEC right now. You dropped from 3rd to 6th after the decommitment of Bryce Underwood, but you still have 3 5-stars committed. And not just 3 5-stars, you have 2 of the 3 5-stars that are at dire positions of need, like positions you haven't been able to figure out the last 3 to 4 years. Since Elias Ricks and Dwight McLaughlin left, like, you haven't been able to figure this position out. And that's DJ Pickett out of Florida. He's a 5-star, top 10 player in the country, and everybody in the country wants this kid. And Corey Raymond did what Corey Raymond does, the godfather of DBU, brought him here and convinced him, hey, like, come get developed by me. You're going to get a chance to play super early on. And that was the recruiting pitch. And then you go and look down the list at another top 25 player, and you got Cade Phillips here. Cade Phillips out of Texas was committed to Texas. He goes and he decommits from Texas and commits to your school. And now he's rose up the ranks, and now you have 2 5-star corners that are probably going to make immediate impacts on your roster next year. If you can get these 2 to the finish line, I said it multiple times, like, these 2 guys are the prize possessions in this class. There is no 2 commits in this class that you need more than those 2. And it sounds like, as of right now, DJ Pickett's going to make the visit to Oklahoma, which should have LSU fans ecstatic, because if he for some reason were to cancel that visit for the Oklahoma game, I would start getting nervous. But as long as he shows up on Saturday and he is there this weekend at the Oklahoma game, I don't think you got much to worry about if you're an LSU fan. And then Cade Phillips was supposed to visit Texas for the Kentucky game this past weekend. He cancels that visit, and he is shutting things down as well. So it sounds like he is 100% locked in as well. Obviously, this is high school recruiting. There's no such thing as 100% locked in. But as far as the way it's looking and the way it's trending, it sounds like LSU is going to have those guys on board. And the guy most people in this class keep forgetting about, kind of because he's just been steady Eddie. He's been committed for a long time, and that is Harlem Barry out of New Orleans. 5-star running back, number one running back in the country. Frank Wilson goes and gets him out of Metairie, and I mean, the kid's super talented. But like I said, this is one that's kind of flown under the radar because of the fact that he's been committed. He doesn't do a lot of interviews. He doesn't go take visits. He's not one of those like kids that's like feeling the process out. You know, I think he kind of knew what he wanted to do. He did it, and he's just kind of enjoying his time in high school, I think, as the Louisiana State playoffs have started. And then you go down the list, and you got a guy like Carius Kern, who is from Arkansas, was committed to Arkansas. He skyrocketed up the rankings. I got a feeling he's going to be the number one inside offensive lineman. Could play guard, could play center, most likely a guard at the next level. But super talented kid, ranked 29th in the country right now. And I don't know if you know this about, like, you know, how the on-3 stuff works, but they take the first 32 guys. When they finalize their rankings, the first 32 guys all get 5 stars because it's like a simulation of like first round draft type thing. And so if he keeps trending in the direction, he's going to be a 5-star, and that'll be 4 5-stars that you will have committed. And I can't tell you how many teams in the country have 4 or 5 stars. I can't tell you that it's many, because right now you have Georgia, Alabama with 4 5-stars, and nobody else has 4 5-stars. So, like, you have the potential to be one of those elite tier teams, a top 5 recruiting class for sure, depending how all of it shakes out. A lot of guys this week have been under a lot of pressure from a lot of schools, and a lot of guys are sticking to it. You got a guy like JT Lindsey, from Alexandria in Louisiana, another running back that Frank Wilson went and grabbed. That 2 running back tandem with JT and Harlem Barry, probably something we're going to be seeing a lot of in the future. You had Michigan going after guys like Damian Shanklin out of Indiana, and so these guys have said the right things. Obviously, I can't stress this enough. Like, it does not matter what these kids say anymore. Like, the Bryce Underwood situation is probably the perfect example of, like, don't ever believe a recruit no matter what he says. They're just lying. I don't know why they do it. I don't know what they get out of, like, trolling fan bases and all that stuff. But, you know, that's the way business is done these days. It's a weird thing to be popular, but hey, listen, it's not my decision. Yeah, that's a story from a different time. But another very important recruit in this class that I think people are overlooking, another guy that Ole Miss was dying to flip, ended up getting Devin Harper. Ole Miss's game plan kind of was to kind of just go around the SEC after they had a terrible recruiting class so far, to go around the SEC and just kind of pick guys off of their recruiting boards that maybe they could offer some NIL money to. They were able to get Devin Harper off of LSU's board. But another guy is Tyler Miller from Mississippi, believe it or not. He's an interior offensive lineman as well. Super talented guy, super big, super strong. A guy who could make an immediate impact as well, if maybe not a starter immediately, but as that rotation guy, like a 6th man, if somebody goes down. You have a guy out of Ruston, a guy in Aiden Anning, who gets underlooked because of the fact that you have DJ Pickett and you have Cade Phillips committed. But I'm telling you, this kid is the real deal. He's already moved to the number one corner in the state. He is skyrocketing up boards. Like, he has great size, great speed. He's a super ultra talented player. And he's only going to continue to get better as he develops. He might be one of those guys who might not make an immediate impact, but by the time his time is done, you're going to know Aiden Anding, and he's going to make an impact for LSU at some point. To round out the class, you have guys like, Zion Williams. You added a guy this week in Zach Weeks, obviously Whit Weeks and West Weeks' brother. You have a guy like Brandon Brown, Walter Mathis, like super big defensive linemen that you have to have depth in. And hopefully Brad Davis can take these guys and develop them because that's what he was brought here to do. So he gets those three guys. It's looking like they're going to sign. And then you have maybe like a guy like Mike Tyler out of Columbia, South Carolina, who probably is eventually going to flip to the Gamecocks, I would think. But he hasn't, he's visited there multiple times and hasn't decommitted yet. So we're kind of still holding that one out to see how that goes. But the most important thing is really the numbers. Like, you look at the guys who LSU has recruited, and you look at what they're trying to do and trying to fill needs, and they're doing it the right way, I think, right? You see the cornerbacks. You see a couple safeties on here, some star-studded linebackers. You got Charles Ross committed to you, who's a top 100 guy out of the Houston area that was super underrated. I don't even think this kid had a 4-star when LSU was recruiting him. I know it was like between us and Houston, and we were recruiting him super early. And then another underrated guy that skyrocketed up boards as well is Jaden Breaker from Georgia, linebacker as well. You have a guy like that. You have a guy like Charles Ross. You get a guy like Zach Weeks in here. And you're looking extremely good in the linebacker department. You're looking extremely good in the cornerback department. And you're looking extremely good in the defensive line department. So if you can finish this class out and sign the guys that are committed to you now, barring like a guy like Derek Meadows or a guy like Mike Tyler who might decommit and go to other schools, which is most likely at this moment. But if you can finish this class out, you're going to finish with a at least top 6 to top 7 class. And then your focus, now that the whole Bryce Underwood thing, I think your focus has to turn to Jakeem Stewart. Like, this is a prized possession. Like, he is a guy in the state of Louisiana at a position you desperately need immediate impact at. And I think LSU should do whatever they can to get this kid to stay home. Frank Wilson has been on it, but this is a kid that visits a lot of places. He's visited USC, he's visited Oregon, he's visited Ohio State. Like, that's his top 4 is LSU, USC, Oregon, Ohio State. He'll be at Ohio State this weekend for the Michigan game. So, and after every visit is the best visit he's ever had. So it's kind of hard to get a read on, what he's really thinking. He is definitely one of those guys who likes the attention, likes the drama. So you're really not going to know what you know. You can look at all the crystal balls and it could say LSU, it could say USC. I wouldn't believe anything until that kid actually tells you out his mouth where he's going to school. And even then, it might be rough. But Jakeem Stewart, I think Brian Kelly and the guys are going to hunker down and do everything they can to get a guy like that. I know a lot of people are worried about that Solomon Thomas guy out of Florida, committed to FSU, visited last weekend for the Vanderbilt game. I just don't see him leaving Florida State. But if he does decide to ever back off that commitment, it would be Florida, LSU, Florida State. It'd be hard to pull him out of that state, I think. But LSU did get a recent visit, so that's a good sign, if any. If he does choose to, reopen his recruitment or maybe make a decision on signing day, I think LSU has done plenty to earn that kid's trust, to let him know like what the culture is around here. Brad Davis got to talk to him multiple times. And if you look at the schools he's being compared to, you have a Florida State where, their offensive line coach just got fired. Mike Norvell's really the only coaching staff member that's going to be left next year. So how does that all play into it at the end of the day? You have a team like Florida who's surging right now in recruiting, also vying for a visit, but we'll see how all that turns out. But this kind of was more of the like steady the fort and get you guys understood on what's going on in the recruiting world at this time. Not a lot of people follow recruiting. Definitely not a lot of people follow it as closely as some. But just know LSU is doing what they can. They're doing much better, I think, at going to get guys they need and not just chasing stars or numbers or like whatever they've been doing in the past, like where they sign top 5 classes, but you go and look and there's just like top heavy receivers at certain positions, big offensive linemen, maybe a couple quarterbacks. Like this is positions like you desperately need to fill. And I think LSU and Brian Kelly have done a tremendous job this 2025 class. And I think it's going to keep on carrying on into that transfer portal window. When that opens, I think they're going to start building this roster for next year. And I think it's going to be a very good roster compared to a lot of the others that are losing a lot of pieces. So that's all I got for you guys today, man. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like this video, drop a comment. Tell me what you're thinking about this recruiting class and everything, and I will see you guys next time.